Oh, 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 oh. Welcome to Meaningful Mornings. Yesterday, I had my weekly soccer game, and what was fascinating is there's a player on our team whom I don't know. We've only met a few times through soccer, and he wrote me a message on Facebook earlier this week, which I'm going to read to you in the exact words. Hi, Vikik. He doesn't even know my name. It's Sam from soccer. I've listened to about 10 minutes so far of one of your talks on YouTube. I just wanted to tell you that you do a very good job explaining things. I've learned a lot already, and I'm not even 1/3 of the way through the video. Now, this is the more important part. I have to look up some of the words, so it's taking me a while to listen to it. But the time looking up words gives me time to think about what you are saying. So I think it's a good thing. Cheers. And I'll see you on Sunday. And on Slido from the Happiness series, I had shared I would only answer questions from the Happiness series, but one of you snuck in a question from Meaningful Mornings. The question, and this is anonymous, why does sinner continue to create sins? Duryodhan knew he was not doing things right, but he couldn't stop himself. I often feel like I am Duryodhan. I'm sharing these personal public references that Meaningful Mornings is most meaningful. How seekers are taking this subjective science and making this subjective. And in our flow right now, the greater the meaning, the greater the faith. Starting where? In oneself. Faith is critical for one to be free. From the Ramayana, I shared with you 5 directions of faiths that one must nurture and have. Sharing the same in a simpler format. Our journey is made up of the sadhya, sadhana, and sadhaka. In English, the sought, the seeking, and the seeker. We have to nurture and have faith in the seeker, seeking, the sought. Faith, another word for this in English for Vivek, is fasten. Fasten. When you're moving things in your car, you fasten it to the trunk or with a rope. The Sanskrit word for faith is shraddha. It means to hold on to. For us to be fastened to this journey of the seeker, seeking, the sought. When you're fastened to this, there are no other options. No complaining, no blaming, no annotating. How can one nurture and have this faith? The first step is rightness. When you engage with the right attitude and the right actions, you will have more faith in yourself. Those who have the wrong intention and engage in the wrong actions, it's very obvious how much fear there is in their personality. This rightness makes one a good person. The next step in faith is a guide. I personally know that one's guide has more faith in oneself than oneself does. A guide is a seer. They can see our potential like we cannot. So a guide helps us to evolve from being a good person to being a great person. Zooming in on this, the less self-expectations you have, the more other expectations you will have. Agreed? If I have high expectations of you, that means I'm not an accepting person. If I have high expectations of myself, that means I'm an accepting person. Those who have low expectations of themselves, they never invoke a guide in their lives. Why? Vanity. It is their vanity that inhibits them from having a guide in their lives. They use experience and they use this ad hoc system to try to become great. It's not possible. Whereas those who do have a high expectations of themselves, what is happening? They're living by purity. If Vivek is jealous, if Vivek is angry, if Vivek is frustrated, if Vivek is lazy, I have high expectations of myself. I should not be like this. So what do? I try to be intentional to correct this. That is purity. And purity invokes humility. With humility, then one is ready for a guide to become great. And those who follow what a guide is sharing, they become the greatest. The verse we're going to study today will highlight that. Completing verse 39, my encouragement to Vivek and to all of you is, be steady. Your steadiness, your determination, your commitment will pull sincerity. Many times last week I shared, it is not time but sincerity that will facilitate your evolution. And sincerity will pull strength. The strength to be great, to be the greatest. A sign of you becoming stronger is you externalizing less. And that's why I keep on repeating, Hari Icha, Hari Icha, Hari Icha. Those who are very much by my will, really they're controlling. But those who live by thy will, they are accepting, they're surrendering. We have to be strong. I was exercising last week, and the instructor on the bike was sharing how tough this ride is that we're on right now. And I was like, whoa, this is a very demotivating message. But then she paused and said, you are too. The ride is tough, but so are you. It was very subtle how she shared that. You are steady. You are sincere. You are strong. Keep nurturing this. In verse 40, the one who is the opposite, Agnyaha, they're ignoring how to be happy. This expresses as Ashraddhadhanaha. Since they're ignoring, they're really floating then. The one with faith is fastened. The one without faith is just floating. And they get lost in samshaya, which is doubts. They doubt themselves. They doubt all they experience. And relatedly, those who live by doubts, they nurture the sense of just floating through life. And that nurtures ignoring how to be happy. And so, one has no prosperity today nor tomorrow. In the example that Pujaswami Tejomayananda shared, it's like having rotting teeth. Even if you put the best food in your mouth, your rotting teeth are going to poison that prosperity. Yes? It's a strong example to have rotting teeth, to have a rotting mind and intellect, poisons all of the prosperity we have. And I'm not even touching peace here. There is no sukham. And this is so logical. When one reflects on a vice, if you reflect on a vice you have, if you don't tend to that vice, doesn't that vice ferment to become more vicious, more permanent? The one who's not joyous today, if they don't work hard and smart today, tomorrow, etc., they're going to be unhappy forever. We continue to verse 41. Shri Krishna has shared the importance of faith. Shri Krishna has shared the importance of not having faith. Importance here means significance. And now, putting these together is verse 41. Yoga sanyasta karmanam jnana samchinna samshayam atma vantam na karmani ebadnanti dhananjaya. The first line. Through yoga, sanyasta karmanam, one has renounced, let go of actions. Relatedly, through jnana, that is knowledge, samchinnam, have been cut fully, samshayam, one's doubts. This is your translation. The implication, the one who's holding on to actions is one who feels they can create happiness. That's why they're holding on so tightly. I have to do this. I am the doer, because they are unhappy and feel they can create happiness. Shared in a different way, the greater the sense of your deservership, the greater will be your dependence on action. And relatedly, the greater your sense of dependence on action, the greater the sense of your deservership. Okay? So the first line is sharing someone who has been freed of this deservership, which means they're freed of this doership, which means they're freed of dependence. Whenever we think of sannyasa, it's always external. But to be independent of needing to act. Why? Because I know I'm happiness. At least I know I'm the source of happiness. Atma vantam na karmani. For the one who knows the right Atma, they're experiencing the right Ananda. So, na karmani, it doesn't matter what action, nibadnanti. They don't depend on it, and so they're not limited by it. Dhananjaya. Dhananjaya means the one who has conquered wealth. Here, Shri Krishna is consciously using this word to help Prince Arjuna remember how much completeness is inside of him, how rich his nature is. So you don't need to act for fulfillment, but you can act out of fulfillment. This verse is describing one who is being happiness. Being is happiness, and they are being while doing. Remember that section of chapter 4, being while doing, doing while being. So here is someone who's followed this. They're the greatest. They're being, which means they're happy. How can this be us? Wake up. Ujjaswami Chinmayananda very powerfully uses how, if you are dreaming and you come to know the waker, what happens to the dreamer? There is no dreamer then. There's only the waker. And what did you have to do? All you had to do was know the waker. All you have to do is know your nature, and all shifts from changing to changeless. A similar thought is shared in the next verse, which is our final verse. From inspiration to application, your recent application was to answer on behalf of Sri Rama to Sri Lakshmana, because maybe Sri Rama didn't know the answers. Maybe he needed you to share your perspective. Here are the 5 answers. What is Maya? Separation. Then naturally, what is Jnana? Unity. What is Vairagya? Independence. What is Ishvara, or who is Ishvara? Controller. Hari Icha. And what is Bhakti? This is the most lovely part of this whole dialogue. It is dependence. When we depend on the controller, we become independent. To depend on infinity, divinity, the map, the guide. Your application for this morning, tomorrow, just analyzing 2021 in Bhagavad Gita, we will have invested 11 months or 45 weeks or 320 days or 4,800 minutes just in 4 chapters of Bhagavad Gita. So I want you to identify the 4 clear changes in your personality. Over this period, what are 4 clear changes? Not changes you hope for, but changes you are clear about in you. Shanti, Shanti, Shantihi. Be safe, be sound, be serene, be happiness.